Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson of the Content Modeling Weekly course. I'm Marcelo Lewin, the presenter and the host. Feel free, like always, get a hold of me. There you go, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com. I know it's been a while, but I've been prepping for all of April, May, and June. Got a lot of stuff coming up for you that's going to be really cool, not just on content modeling, but I have a lot of focus on courses coming up in a variety of headless CMSs. So there's a lot of stuff coming up. So today I'm going to continue from lesson 24, where I introduced you to the content intent diagram, and I'm going to do a quick summary and overview of that real quick before we jump in to today's lesson, which is 25. So we're going to take that content intent diagram, and then we're going to build a content model out of it. But before we get started, as always, let me show you here my site. There you go. There's my site. You're going to be able to go to headlesscreator.com. Make sure you register. There's the sign in right there. You can sign up as well. But once you register, you can go to the content modeling course. You can see all the upcoming lessons right there if you want to see what's coming up. But if you go to all courses and then content modeling, you're going to find this lesson right there, lesson 25, with the content model down here. So you'll be able to get it. You do have to register, but it's free registration. So go ahead and do that. And then, of course, you'll have access to free registration, gives you access to all the courses. So there's a whole bunch of other courses with tons of content in it. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that. Just check out headlesscreator.com. And we'll go from there. And that's it for now. So what I'm going to do now, because for the on-demand version, which will be on the site, I start out nice, fresh, and clean. None of the marketing of Headless Creator. So I'm going to restart the entry here. And we're just going to redo the intro, but it'll be just on the course itself. So let's get started. Well, hello and welcome to another lesson of the Content Modeling Weekly course. I'm Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. You can get a hold of me right there, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com. As always, follow me on all the social media at Headless Creator. Today is lesson 25. It's a continuation of lesson 24, where I introduced you to the content intent diagram, and I'm going to do a quick summary of that, but watch lesson 24 and you'll have all the details. We're going to take that content intent diagram and we're going to build a content model out of it. We're going to figure out what are content types, what are just communication elements that are just used in rich text fields. So why don't we get started? Let me jump in here and we'll share the screen. There we go. Of course, there's my site, but let's review real quick. And before I jump in, because it's early morning here, I don't know what time it is over there, but I just wanted to take a little sip of coffee so I have a little more energy for you this morning. But if you recall, in lesson 24, we had we just picked a document from Google Search Central, and then we built a content intent diagram. And let me show you real quick here. And the idea here, we'll start here. All of this is in lesson 24, so I'm going to do a quick overview here, but make sure you watch lesson 24 on headlesscreator.com to get all the details. But the content intent has two things. The purpose, what are we trying to communicate, and what are the communication elements we're going to use to communicate that. And communication elements could be elements within, for example, rich text fields, such as an H3 or a bold. But it could also be a content type used as a communication element. For example, you build a dynamic table, or you build some other kind of content type that represents a communication. Then each communication element has a delivery channel where you define what is the layout, the design, and what is the actual code for that delivery channel. So for example, a content type, let's say a table, that has dynamic data may look one way on your website, but may look a different way on your mobile device, and maybe a completely different thing through an IoT device where it's going to be spoken, right? So You have to figure that out. So again, look at lesson 24 for the full details. But we took those basics of a content intent diagram and then built it for this document, right? The Google Search Central document. And we took it and we figured, hey, there's a headline and then there's a body. So at a minimum, we know we have a Google search document that has some communication elements. One of them is being a headline and then a body. The purpose of this is to explain technical SEO topics to developers. So I'm going to move this here so I can see this better. Okay, so if that's the case, and by the way, if you do have any questions, type it in the chat boxes for the people in the live version. And hopefully everything's coming out okay. No audio distortion. I've noticed there was some audio distortion prior in other recordings. But the document itself here has a headline and a body. So we figured we have a headline that communicates the name of the document, and then we have a body that the purpose of it is to explain this feature, this Google feature. So what do we use to explain the Google feature? Where there's various elements. After we analyze this document, we notice, hey, look, there's code, there's sample, there's code here that gives you the output of that code. There's what I'm calling these call-out boxes. There are sections, like here's a structured data format, here's structured data guidelines, here's how to build, test, and release. So these are like headlines with more information. So if you notice, in the content intent diagram, we have text description, text headers, important text that is bolded. We have code samples that are only the code or code with related output. We do have images. We have callouts, different kinds of callouts, like there is a highlight start, an idea, which is like light bulb they use, a learn, which is a graduation cap, a warning. Now, of course, I made a lot of assumptions here because I don't have anybody from Google to tell me if this is right or wrong. So I'm pretending I'm working here with Google, people in Google, right? And we're working together and creating this intent diagram. So once we have this intent diagram where we understand all the elements that are required to build this document, now we can move on to the next step, which is creating the content model using this intent diagram. Some of these elements will be communication elements using rich text fields, for example, an H3. A text description may end up being just an RTF field. A header may be an H3. Important text most likely would be like bolded. So those are going to be communication elements within rich text fields. And you want to look at your headless CMS to see what your rich text field supports. Not all headless CMS rich text fields are alike. Some may have extra features than others. In general, most headless CMSs will output JSON, right? They'll save all of their data in a JSON format, so that way they call them nodes. They're formatting nodes, so that way they are easily reused in multiple delivery channels without tying down the look and feel of it. So, for example, in Contentful and many others, they don't support tables, the creation of tables. Some do, some don't. So you may have to create a content type to build tables, right? So look at your headless CMS, figure that out. Some of them will be supported by your rich text field. The others you're going to build content models around, or content types around. So let's build